Would you give up your entire paycheck to help someone in need? For one man, the answer was yes. When he saw a struggling mother at the brink of despair, he didn't hesitate to hand over his whole salary. But what happened the next day, when a white limousine arrived at his doorstep, was beyond his wildest dreams. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Stories Unfolded. We bring you stories that inspire, shock, and remind you of life's unpredictable beauty. Let's dive into this incredible tale. Alex worked as a security guard at a mall in the city. He wasn't rich, far from it. His monthly salary barely covered his rent, bills, and groceries. But despite his struggles, Alex had a big heart and a firm belief in helping others whenever he could. At 28, Alex lived a simple life. His days were spent patrolling the mall, greeting shoppers with a polite smile, and dealing with the occasional rowdy customer. Nights were for watching documentaries on his second-hand TV and dreaming of a future where he could afford a little more than the basics. One chilly November evening, Alex finished his shift and headed to the grocery store across the street to pick up a few essentials. It was the end of the month, and his wallet was nearly empty. His next paycheck was due the following day. As he walked through the store, carefully selecting items within his meager budget, he noticed a woman standing near the cash register. She had two small children clinging to her coat, their eyes wide with hunger. The woman's face was flushed with embarrassment as she argued with the cashier. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but your card was declined," the cashier said apologetically. The woman fumbled with her wallet, pulling out a few crumpled bills. "Can you try again? Please, I just need these few things for my kids." Alex watched as the cashier shook his head, and the woman's shoulders slumped in defeat. Alex felt a pang in his chest. He knew that look, the look of someone who had been beaten down by life, but was still trying to hold on for the sake of their loved ones. Without a second thought, he stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said to the cashier. "I'll cover it." The woman turned to him, her eyes wide with surprise. "Oh no, you don't have to do that," she said quickly, shaking her head. Alex smiled kindly. "It's okay. I want to." He handed the cashier his debit card, watching as the total rang up. It was more than he had expected, nearly his entire monthly paycheck. For a moment, doubt flickered in his mind. But then he looked at the children, their faces lighting up as the bags of food were handed over, and he knew he had made the right decision. "Thank you," the woman said, her voice trembling with gratitude. "I don't even know how to repay you." Alex waved her off. "Don't worry about it. Just take care of your kids." The woman wrote something on a scrap of paper and handed it to him. "Here's my name and number," she said. "Please, let me repay you when I can." Alex smiled, but didn't take the paper. "Pay it forward," he said simply. "That's all I ask." That night, Alex returned to his small apartment with an empty wallet, but a full heart. He boiled some pasta, his only remaining food, and ate it while replaying the encounter in his mind. He didn't regret his decision, but the reality of his situation began to sink in. Rent was due in a few days, and he didn't know how he would make ends meet until his next paycheck. "It'll work out," he told himself, brushing off the nagging worry. "It always does." As he lay in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, Alex thought about the woman and her kids. He hoped they were eating a warm meal that night, safe and happy. The next morning, Alex woke up early, ready to start his shift at the mall. He grabbed his uniform and was halfway through his cup of instant coffee when he heard a loud knock at the door. Frowning, Alex opened the door and was greeted by an unbelievable sight. a gleaming white limousine parked in front of his apartment building. Standing on the doorstep was a man in a sharp black suit and sunglasses. "Mr. Alex Peterson?" the man asked. Alex nodded, his heart pounding. "That's me." The man smiled. "My employer would like to speak with you. Please, follow me." Confused but intrigued, Alex grabbed his jacket and followed the man to the limousine. The plush interior was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Leather seats, polished wood accents, and a chilled bottle of champagne in a silver bucket. "What's going on?" Alex asked, his voice tinged with nervous laughter. The man didn't answer. Instead, he handed Alex a business card with a name he didn't recognize. William Monroe. The limousine pulled up to a sprawling estate on the outskirts of the city. Alex's jaw dropped as he took in the towering gates, manicured gardens, and massive mansion. He was led inside to a grand living room where a man in his late 50s sat waiting. He was impeccably dressed, his presence commanding, yet warm. "Mr. Peterson," the man said, standing and extending a hand. "Thank you for coming. My name is William Monroe." Alex shook his hand, still baffled. "It's nice to meet you, sir. But why am I here?" William's smile widened. "Yesterday, you helped my daughter." Alex's eyes widened. "Your daughter?" "Yes," William said, his voice filled with gratitude. "Her name is Emily. She told me about how you stepped in and paid for her groceries when she was at her lowest point. What you didn't know is that Emily has been going through a very difficult time. She recently left an abusive relationship and has been trying to rebuild her life. Your kindness was a lifeline for her and for my grandchildren." Alex's heart swelled. "I didn't do anything special," he said humbly. William chuckled. "To you, perhaps, but to her, it meant everything. And to me, it means I owe you a debt of gratitude." William gestured for Alex to sit, and a servant brought in coffee and pastries. Alex hesitated, feeling out of place, but eventually sat down. "I've spent my life building wealth," William said, "but I've learned that true wealth lies in the kindness we show to others. People like you remind me of that." William pulled out an envelope and handed it to Alex. Inside was a check. Alex's eyes widened as he read the amount, $100,000. "I can't accept this," Alex said, shaking his head. William raised a hand. "Please hear me out. This isn't just a gift. It's an investment in someone who understands the value of giving. Use it to pay off your debts, pursue your dreams, or help others as you see fit." Alex stared at the check, his hands trembling. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," William said with a warm smile. Over the next few weeks, Alex's life changed in ways he couldn't have imagined. He paid off his rent and other debts, leaving him with a clean slate for the first time in years. But true to his nature, Alex didn't keep the money for himself. He used a portion to start a community food program, ensuring that no parent in his neighborhood would have to face the humiliation Emily had experienced. Word of his generosity spread, inspiring others in the community to contribute. The program grew, transforming into a local movement that provided meals, clothing, and support for struggling families. As for Alex, he continued working at the mall, now with a renewed sense of purpose. Every time he saw a customer in need, he thought of Emily and her kids, and the power of one small act of kindness. This story reminds us that kindness is never wasted. Alex's selfless act. Would you give up your entire paycheck to help someone in need? For one man, the answer was yes. When he saw a struggling mother at the brink of despair, He didn't hesitate to hand over his whole salary. But what happened the next day, when a white limousine arrived at his doorstep, was beyond his wildest dreams. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Stories Unfolded. We bring you stories that inspire, shock, and remind you of life's unpredictable beauty.